Hello my lovelies and welcome back to my channel. Today is day 3 of our Sinclair Violet sew along. Today we'll be creating the bodice of the dress. So let's start by grabbing the 2 bodice pieces for the sides. You should have 4 pieces total, 2 main and 2 lining, and then the center piece that we worked on yesterday. A beautiful pleated centerpiece. So take your main of one of your sides and place it right sides together, starting with the notch that you have here. The notch will match the top of your panel piece. I'm going to put a clip where the notch is, and then a clip down right here, and then a few throughout. And this is main to main, right sides together. My main and my lining are the same color. Yours might be different, so keep that in mind. This is main to main, right sides together, and you can see it fits 1-to-1 ratio, no stretching or anything. Okay, so now on the lining part, we're going to put the lining right sides together to the lining part, so we create a nice sandwich where the panel is sandwiched in between the line and the maining that are right sides together. So you should be working right now with 4 layers of fabric. And again, if you've marked your notch, the notch will match the previous notch as well as the top of that panel. So here it is from the lining from the main, and I'm going to stitch this down with 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'll do this step on my serger. You can definitely do it on the sewing machine. Just make sure if you do use your sewing machine that you use a stretch stitch, like a triple stretch stitch. I wouldn't do a zigzag for this one. You need the strength on the bodice. And because everything is basted from yesterday, it should look nice and pleated when we flip it. Yes, we shall see in just a minute. Oh, no, you go all the way. You don't get out. You go all the way. As you can see, when we open it, it looks very nice because it was pre-basted, so everything is going in the same direction. So this is from the outside. We're going to repeat the same thing on the other side. Again, take your panel and you're going to take your main, and starting from the notch right here, we're going to pin in place right sides together. Make sure that you keep your pleats going down. They should be going down because they've been basted yesterday, but just in case, double check. You don't want one side to go in one direction and, 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 That would not make a pretty pleat. And if you've done the Alba sew along with me, where we've done pleats on the collar, remember a few months ago, this is a breeze. As you can see, I'm not stretching anything, 1-to-1 ratio, not a problem whatsoever. So this is from the outside. Let's flip it to the lining. Another easy hack that you can do to this pattern, again not for the sew along, but if you want to make yourself a different one, you can, and you don't want to do the pleats or the gathered like I talked to you about yesterday, you can simply just cut 2 of the lining and you'll have like a flat panel on the front, no gathers or ruching or pleats. So you just put an accent of color and you cut 2 of the lining. Again, not for the sew along. For the sew along you need to have the pleats to qualify. But if you want to make it again, that's a super easy hack to this dress. Okay, I'm going to start sewing from the top just to make sure that I keep my pleats going down. Okay, so I'm going to sew all this side. And when you reach the part where you have to go over 4 layers, go slow because you're moving from 2 layers to 4. So you want to give your machine a chance to adjust its tension. So your front bodice is done. This is from the back, this is the lining, and this is from the front. Super pretty, right? With that panel. I love it. You can definitely go ahead and give it a good press on this so you reduce any waviness you have. Now set this aside and let's start working on the back piece. The back should be looking something like this. This was cut on fold. Mark the center of your back neckline if you haven't marked it yet. So you see the neckline, that's the center. Grab your back neckline and press it wrong sides together so it looks like this. Give it a good press, and then the center back is marked with a notch on the pattern, so match that notch to the center back that you've made here. And then you have 2 notches on the outside. Those will match the outer part of the neckline, so you have some excess binding, and that's on purpose. Okay, so again on the other side you have this notch here on the pattern, and then you match that notch with the shoulder seam of where the shoulder seam meets the neckline, and you have this excess, and that's what you're supposed to do. So now, looking from the inside, it looks like this. You're going to stretch to fit that binding and just add a pin or so. The binding is stretched, not the neckline. Okay, and let's stitch it down. stretch the binding to fit the neckline as you sew. This will help you lay nice and flat. Okay, so this is what it looks like from the outside. It looks like a band instead of a binding when you start. However, we're not going to leave it as a band, like a t-shirt neckband. We're going to make it a binding simply by folding it like so. So the whole piece is folded to cover the seam allowance. Again, the top part is folded to cover the seam allowance. And we're going to pin it in place. And we're going to run this through a cover stitch or a zigzag stitch on a sewing machine. But this way your binding is no longer visible on the outside. Only the main fabric can be seen on the outside. So this is from the inside, this is from the outside, and we're going to top stitch with our cover stitch. So let me move you over there. And I am using this gorgeous villainous Tex 30 from Wizardry Stitchery Crafts. You can't tell me it's not perfect. It is absolutely perfect with this fabric. Okay, so let's go ahead and top stitch. As you go, and again, any kind of waviness will be reduced once we hit it with the spin brush. Man, this thread is as beautiful as the fabric. So now that we have top stitched it, this is what it looks like from the inside, this is what it looks like from the outside. You won't see the binding. We'll give it a good press. We can remove now the excess binding piece. And there we go. So the back of the neckline is nicely finished. Gorgeous. Let's work on the shoulder seams right now. We're going to want to sandwich this back piece on the front pieces between the lining and the main, and we're going to sew that on the serger. So take your front bodice that we worked on earlier, and you're going to open the shoulder. As you can see, this is what it looks like from the inside. This is what it looks like from the outside. There is a main and there is a lining. In my case, it's the same print. So you're going to take your back bodice and place it right sides together with the main and pin in place. For now, just 2 layers, main and lining, main and front and back right sides together. and just pin, don't sew yet. Okay, so this is what it looks like, and this is the lining of the body. So now you're going to bring that lining over this and repin in place. This way your back bodice is now sandwiched in between the lining and the main of the shoulder seam of the front. Okay, so this is the paneling part. This is where the lining meets the main, and my back bodice is sandwiched in between the lining and the main of the front. So now we can go ahead and stitch with 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. So now when you open it up, you're going to see the beautiful back sandwiched in between. This will give it a good press to reduce that bulky part. So your back bodice now, this is the back bodice, is beautifully stitched with no raw edges in between the front and the back, the lining and the main of the front piece. See the shoulder? Beautiful. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Open up the shoulder seam here. Bring your back bodice, make sure it's not twisted, right sides together with the main of the bodice, the main print, and pin it in place. Okay, you're going to pin it in place only on the main. The lining stays like this. Okay, so this is the main. Now you're going, this is the lining. Now you're going to bring the lining over it and repin this way. You've sandwiched the back bodice, the back of the bodice in between the lining and the main of the front. It looks complicated, but it really isn't. So that's the back, and this is the lining, this is the main, and this is sandwiched in between, and now you're going to stitch. So you have no raw edges at the shoulder. Isn't that nice? If you want to reinforce this, especially if you're making the maxi dress, so the dress will be heavier on the bodice, you can put clear elastic here in the stitch. Okay, let's open it up, and it is gorgeous. We have the shoulder seams done, and see, no raw edges at the shoulder seam. Beautiful. We're going to obviously give it a good press. So let's add the sleeves. The sleeves, for the sleeves, you're going to treat the main and the lining as one piece. So from this point onwards, the main and the lining are one piece. So grab your sleeves. Remember, your sleeves have a front and a back. They're not cut and fold. On the sleeve, you will have a notch. This notch right here, only on one side, represents the front. So grab the sleeve that has the notch matching with the front, pin at the shoulder seam. So there's a notch at the shoulder seam. We're going to pin that in place. we're going to match the notch right here. And I'm sewing through 3 layers on the front and 2 on the back, because the lining is only on the front. And we're going to match the armpit points as well. And now we're going to the back and do the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and match the armpits. When you attach a satin sleeve, you're sewing a convex and a concave curve together. So there won't be stretching, but there will be easing into. So I like to add one more pin around the middle here, and then just serge. If you're comfortable adding a lot of pins, go ahead and do that. I've sewn a million dresses, so with satin sleeves. My comfort level is with just a couple of pins, but if your comfort level is to add 50 pins, go ahead and do that. It doesn't matter. You adjust it to your own sewing level and desire. So we're going to stitch this down with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, keeping the raw edges aligned. Make sure you don't catch anything on the back. And again, we're stitching now through 3 layers. We started from the back where we had 2 layers. And now we're stitching 3 layers because we're at the front. Okay, your sleeve is attached. I'm doing a short sleeve on mine. Okay, let's repeat the same thing on the other side. Again, right sides together. This is the sleeve opening, and this is my sleeve. The notch at the shoulder matches the shoulder point. Then we'll add 1 pin at the front to match the notches. And then 1 at the armpit. And then on the back, same thing. I like to add 1 at the armpit right here. And 1 more around the middle-ish. Gorgeous. And I'm stitching around the arm side. My sleeves are added on both sides. Last but not least, we're going to sew the side seams. Before I do that, I'm going to my iron and press a memory hem for my sleeves. Okay, do that, don't skip it. It will help you on the last day when you hem the dress. I went ahead and pressed my memory hem, as you can see. I don't know how well you can see it, but it is pressed. Unfold it, and then bring your sleeves right sides together and match the side seams. So you should have 3 layers on the side seams, 2 from the front and 1 from the back. You're going to want to pin them in place, matching at the armpit and the bottom. And make sure that they are right sides together. So this is my lining. Okay, and you're going to want to stitch that down with a 1/4 of an inch seam. You can see at the sleeve you have a little V here that will help you when you hem the sleeves on the last one. Okay, we're going to do the same thing on the other side, and that is the last step for today. So right sides together. I can't believe I have a dress in bamboo in this print. It's been years, guys, years since I wanted this. I'm so happy. It's finally here. Never give up on your dreams. See, never give up on your dreams. Nagging works. Nagging works, in the words of Monica from Friends. Nagging works. Okay, so let's stitch this down. Okay, we're going to go ahead and give it a good press. Reduce any of the waviness you have on your bodies from stitching. So we're going to press the neckline, we're going to press these sides, snip any threads you have, and then go ahead and take a photo of your completed bodice and post it in the day 3 photo of the sew along album. You can find the sew along album in the Backstitch Backroom on Facebook, and I'll see you back here tomorrow when we'll be creating the skirt. Talk to you soon. Bye.